So many of us have become accustomed to simply picking up a smartphone or GPS device if we need to go to a location by punching in an address. But if there was a disaster and no electronics were available or they were down, would you know how to use a map and a compass to quickly and efficiently get to a location using landmarks and a map? In this video, we're going to cover the basic 3 steps to orient yourself using a map and quickly navigating to a location using simple points on a map and a compass. So let's jump in. Please consider subscribing to our newsletter by clicking on the link in the description and comment section below. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and click the like button to help the channel grow. So in this video, we're going to break it up into a few parts. The first part is just going to walk you through a simple, quick 3 steps to understand how to identify where you're at, line up the map with your compass, and then simply lift up the compass and then you can take off. So let's go ahead and jump into this 3 steps. So the first thing that we want to do when starting out with a map is determining our general location, or if you can, more specifically where you're at. I've got 3 bodies of water that are behind me that I can see, so doing a few, looking around, I can determine I'm about right here. Now, if you don't have a high vantage point, obviously you're going to want to look for markers that are on the map, different addresses, or rather street signs that will help you quickly determine where you're at. All right, now that we know where we're at, the next thing is obviously determining where we're going to go. In this case, we're trying to move over to this body of water several miles out. So what we have to do is obviously determine how to get from here to there. So the first thing that we're going to do is lay down our compass on the map, and we're going to point the general direction that we're trying to go. In this case, I'm trying to go to the lake. So we've got this baseline here. From this point, we can draw, if you want to, a straight line to determine the first point that we're going to hit. And this will help you navigate. Maybe you can see that location. And so now that we've determined where we're going to go, the next step is I'm going to turn this compass, this bezel right here, and you can see that there's these lines inside the compass. Now, obviously, you can see on the map, there's these grid lines that go north and south. And what I want to do is match up the lines inside my compass to align with these northern, southern grid lines on the map. So what I've done now is I've established this in the bezel. And the next step is I simply lift up the compass and I'll rotate the compass, and now my magnetic north is lined up with the red arrow inside, and now this arrow at the end of the compass shows our direction of travel. So now all I have to do is, while I'm walking, simply keep the compass inside the red arrow that's engraved inside the bezel and stay with this direction of travel, and I can quickly get to my location. The compass. Magnetic compasses rely upon one side of the magnetic needle being drawn to the point at the north magnetic pole. When shopping compasses, you should be concerned with the compass you buy. A cheap compass from China, though most of the compasses you can buy are made in China, can be wildly off and pointing north. When I was teaching basic orienting to a group of kids in Cub Scouts, I purchased several compasses online and noticed many were not pointing north. If you're traveling a long distance on unfamiliar terrain with poor distance visibility, however, you could end up far from your intended destination. I did manage to find one basic compass with the features I wanted at a price that didn't break the bank. I'll put a link to it in the comments below. For our introductory lesson, we'll be using a magnetic base plate compass with orienting lines, a direction of travel arrow on it, and a small magnifier among the main features of it. First, let's define the parts of the compass we'll be using. The compass uses a liquid-filled capsule to house a needle, which works slightly better than the floating needle encapsulated in air. The fluid won't freeze, but it sometimes forms bubbles, which don't usually impact needle movement. One side of the magnetic needle is red, and the tip of that needle should always want to point north. The compass has a rotating bezel and orientation lines below the needle, which we discussed earlier. Moving up from the bezel, there's a magnifier for assisting you in reading the details of your map. Above that is an imprinted arrow. The arrow is referred to as the direction arrow, or the DOT, direction of travel arrow. The sides have scales and rulers, which I won't cover in this video, but you want to use them in conjunction with your map to determine the distance between you and your destination or waypoint. We did skip the destination of the declination scale, as for this lesson, we want to focus on the basics to get you comfortable with a compass for local emergency situations. The map. Research has shown that people who use paper maps versus electronic navigation are more apt to travel to their destination faster because they head directly to their next landmark or turn. Also, they are more likely to be able to return navigate to their starting point from memory. The theory is that the brain is constantly engaged in constructing representations and identifying landmarks, whereas being spoon-fed the electronic direction dulls these observational facilities. After a disaster, even if GPS is still functional, printed maps will be far more effective. If there are 3 roads away from your location, but they are all impassable because of debris or they're completely destroyed, you are stuck with an electronic road map of only these 3 impassable roads. However, on a printed map, you could maybe find a walking trail or a creek that runs through an area that will shortcut you to a safer route and out of harm's way. So, if you live in a more rural setting with nature trails, you want to seek out a map that does provide you with good information on the topography of your area. For our purposes, I'll use the most likely accessible map that a person could have. Your Basic City Series road map from the Automobile Association of America, AAA. It will lack much of the finer detail, but it will provide enough to navigate by even somewhat off the roads, if only across mild terrain to get to a safer road. If you don't have at least one of these in your prepping supplies, make obtaining one your absolute priority. Many people don't have any printed maps or instead just a state-level map in the glove compartment. That's fine when you can travel on roads long distances, but a local area map is more important to you after a disaster. In an actual SHTF situation, that local area map, while only representing 20 miles across, might be the entire breadth of your navigable world. After any disaster, you can put out your mind traveling hundreds upon hundreds of miles to your safe place. Hollywood makes movies about that precisely because it is so perilous. Many people don't even own the shoes to get there or aren't fit enough to make the journey. Suffice it to say that after a disaster, your world gets a lot smaller, so the detail afforded by a smaller regional map will be to your benefit. I'll be launching a companion video to this one in the near future that will go into more information on maps and how you should be marking your map up as a prepper. If you anticipate your bug out or escape route will involve having to leave the roadway significantly, seek out a backcountry, topographical, or trail corridor map of your area. These specialty maps fill in those solid colors on your roadway map with details about terrain, unpaved roads, trails, and more. If you've ever tried to travel in the wild, you will know that one large hill covered in overgrowth can make the shortest distance between 2 points impossible. You may have to travel all the way around the obstacle unless you know the backpackers, hunters, or mountain bikers trail over it. Hopefully this introduction video gave you enough information to get you started on the process of learning how to use a basic compass and a basic map. There's a lot more that you can learn, but I would say 80 to 90% of what we covered in this video will get you to where you need to be. If you have any feedback, any thoughts or questions, please post those in the comment section below. And as always, stay safe out there.